Let me share my screen. Okay, I think all of you can see my screen. Can anyone just reply me back?
Yes, sir, we are able to see the screen.
Yeah, thank you. So last few slides, I think we missed it yesterday. I was unaware that it is disconnected. Last few minutes, 5 minutes, I think 4 to 5 minutes, it was disconnected. So these are all the things what we covered yesterday. So 1 or 2 slides you have missed, that's all, 1 or 2. And you understood how to import a module. Yeah, this is what we were discussing. So you understood how to import the additional module to the Python programming environment. So say if especially the math is the example that we understood. So in case if you're interested in using the mathematical functions like sine, cos, tan, all these things, so then you cannot directly use them. So what you have to do is you have to import. Now why this concept is there in Python? Because just to keep the Python as light as possible. If everything is imported initially itself, and the Python will become bulkier and it will take more time to execute. So and moreover it is an interpreted language, so the statements are processed one statement at a time, and it will take more time. Just to avoid that, so they have made the packages as separate modules. So in case you feel a module is required in your programming environment, so then you can go for importing only that module. And there is the provision for importing only a function which is there inside the module also. So say for example I want to use only the sine function from the math module. I don't want the any other functions which are present inside the math module. So then you can go for importing only that sine function from the math module. It's not necessary for you to import every function which is there in the math module. So that is also there. Why it's made like that, like this? Just to keep the language, the Python as light as possible. If it is light, it can perform faster. So that is the intention behind module concept, and also importing only those functions which are present inside the module. That is also possible. And yesterday you understood how to do that, and then we were discussing how to define the user defined functions. Okay. The syntax you understood now. You got to use def keyword and then name of the function and then the parameter list, and followed by the statements. That is what you have to follow. And we discussed an example also. So this is the new line example we understood, and then called it 3 times, and then we started nesting these 3 new line functions in one function, that is 3 lines. Okay. So yeah, and this was the last slide, and I think at this point I got disconnected, and I continued after this for 2 to 3 slides also from my next PPT. Okay, I am just opening my next PPT now. Okay, is it visible? Do I need to make it full screen? So I think for me this is comfortable, because I can have, even if due to network issues, if I'm disconnected, I'll immediately come to know that I'm disconnected. So if I go to full screen, so difficult for me to know whether I'm connected still to MS Teams, I'm disconnected. So if you say everyone, yeah, this is okay sir, it is visible, you can go ahead like this, I'll continue. So is that fine?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now this loops and iterations. So this is very much essential in any programming language, because without the loops and iterations, it becomes very difficult for you to write the programs. Say assume loops and iterations are not there, looping and iterative constructs are not there. So you may have to repeat what the statement several number of times, and the program length used to get bigger. Okay, the LOC used to increase, lines of code used to increase. But with the loops and iterations, if you have something to be repeated for several number of times, so you can easily do that now. Okay, that is what we understand now. Now, what kind of looping constructs are available in Python programming language to support the iterations? So, repeated steps. The first is the while loop. So, while loop is also available, and the syntax goes something like this. So, while and the condition, and as usual you have to use the colon here. So before that you should have an iteration variable. So n is called as an iteration variable because this controls how many times the loop will execute. So n is equal to 5, and we have the condition if n is greater than 0. So perform these two statements. We are going to repeatedly perform the execution of these two statements as long as the condition is true. Okay. So this is a simple thing because you already know all these things and how the looping construct works. But you should remember what is the syntax of the same looping constructs in Python. So we have the example. Initially n is 5, initialized to 5. If n is greater than 0, what we are doing? We are printing the value of n. And then within the loop, we are updating this iteration variable. So what kind of an updation what we are doing now? We are subtracting it by 1. Please mute, all of you mute. Yeah, we are subtracting 1 from it. So and repeats in the next iteration n value is 4, again greater than 0. So this is the output what I am writing here. So finally when n becomes 0, so 0 greater than 0, condition is false, so it will skip the execution of these two statements and comes here and says done. Okay, done. So you can observe the output here, done. And then finally we are printing the final value of the n. So the final value of the n would be what? 0. We are printing it, and the corresponding flowchart is also made available here. So the working procedure is exactly same as the while loops what you already know. Okay, same thing. Now let me go to the next one. So an infinite loop. So I need to make an infinite loop using while. Okay, so you can just observe here. I have initialized the variable n. Okay, variable n to 5, which is my finite value, and then I'm checking while n greater than 0. Okay, yeah, 5 is greater than 0, true. Print lather and print rinse. So now this goes continuously because inside my loop and nowhere I'm updating the iteration variable. I'm neither decreasing it or nor increasing it. So what happens? It continuously runs and finally say try print. So it will not come here. Getting? So this statement never gets printed, and it infinitely keeps looping here itself and prints the lather and rinse. So this is something, a program related to what your washing machine. Okay. Now what's wrong in this loop? That means we are not updating the iteration variable. Updating in the sense either increasing or decreasing, we are not doing it. So it will go for an infinite loop. Strictly speaking, here the iteration variable, so you should go for decreasing on every iteration. And after some time, when the value of n becomes a 0, correct, so it will come out of the loop. 0 or lesser than 0, so it will terminate. But now it does not terminating. Next, breaking out of a loop. Yes, that is also possible here. Even you have understood it in other programming languages. So you have used break and the continuous statement. In case, so you want to break the execution of the loop. Say for example, I have an infinite loop and I want that loop to get terminated when something is true. Okay, something is true when the loop is getting executed. So then I can add a break, and the moment the break statement is called, the entire looping construct is terminated and it comes out of the loop. Okay, and similarly you have continuous statement also. In case if I want to skip a particular iteration and directly jump to the next iteration, so that case I can make use of the continue statement. So break and continue are available even in the Python programming language also. So the break statement ends the current loop and jumps to the statement immediately following the loop. So it is like a loop test that can happen everywhere, anywhere in the body of the loop. So I have the example written over here. So So while true, so as you know, while true is an infinite loop which runs forever, and inside that, so if you just observe, I am trying to read something from the keyboard because I've used the function input, and what is the display, prompting display I'm doing? Just a arrow. Okay, this is just the display, so it is expecting something from me to type. Okay, so input this, and when I write something from the keyboard, or when I input something from the keyboard, it is assigned to line. And as all of you know, everything which you read using the input function is read in the form of string. It is read in the form of the string, and it is assigned to line. So next, what I'm doing, if line is equal to done. Okay, so line is a string, and this is a, so in string, in Python, even the string comparison can be done like this by using the double equal to operator. But in C programming language, if you had to compare two strings, you are doing that by using strcmp statement. So here it is not necessary. You can go for comparing it by using the double equal to operator also. Okay. Now I am comparing it. If line is equal to the whatever I have read from the keyboard, if it is equal to done, in case if I have typed from the keyboard done, then break this infinite loop. So if I type anything other than done, so what it does, it prints it. Okay, prints whatever I have typed, and then goes back to the infinite loop, and again it will prompt me to enter some more thing from the keyboard. Okay, and then finally, in case if I say done, it comes out of the while loop and says print done. So this statement, the last printf statement what I have written here, it is just outside the while. Okay, it is just outside the while. I hope you understood with this. Okay, this example. Okay, so this is similar kind of examples you have already done in another programming language. Now how do we do that in the Python programming language, or how do we break out of a loop within a Python programming language? So similar to the one which you already know, but with a slightly different syntax. Okay, so I have the example run also here. So initially when I ran this code, so I have given hello there. Okay, and this is what it is printing. So I just typed this, it read from the keyboard, and it is just comparing with done, so not same, so no question of this break statement getting executed. Where it comes to the print line, prints whatever I've read just now from the keyboard, and then goes back to the infinite while loop again, and again it is prompting me to enter something from the keyboard. So on this time what I've entered, finished, again prints me finished. So third time when it goes back to the while loop, and it is prompting me to enter something, I'm entering done. So now finally this matches, this condition is true, so break statement is called, and I'm out of the loop, and it says done. Okay, so this is breaking out of a loop. And the same thing, the next slide of it. Now when the statement is called, it will all the way come out of the while loop. Okay, next. Yeah, with the flow chart it is. Okay, so with a small flow chart, it is shown that when the break statement is called, how it comes out of the while loop. Okay, so as long as the condition is true, since I have already made it as true, it comes here. It will be looping here for the infinite number of times. When the moment this condition is true, it jumps out and says done. Next. So finishing an iteration with continue. Okay, so just I want to skip an iteration. Okay, I want to finish. I don't want to continue further with this current iteration. I just wanted to simply jump to the next iteration of the loop and continue. So then you can use the continue statement. So I have the similar type of example again here. See, while true, line is equal to the same statement what you understood in the previous slide. And now what I'm doing here, if line of 0, so little different here. Okay, line of 0 is equal to this symbol. Okay, continue. Now in Python I've already told you the command lines are written by using this symbol, hash symbol. Correct? No? Now, so in case if I'm entering, if I'm typing something from the keyboard which is starting with the hash symbol, what is that I have to do? I have to skip this iteration and just go to the next iteration. So that is what I'm doing here. While true, I'm reading something from the keyboard, I just check line of 0. Now I'm not comparing the entire line with this symbol. What I'm comparing is only the first character of the line with this. In the previous slide, So we just did it, line is equal to done. So because the entire line I was just comparing here with done, but in the next thing, in this example, I'm not comparing the entire line with this. What I'm doing is I'm comparing only the first character. In case if you want to access the second character of the first line, how do you do that? Line of 1. Third character of the line, so line of 2, something like that. Now I just wanted to check whether the line is starting from this symbol. I just say if line of 0 is equal to this, continue. So don't go here, just skip this iteration and go to the next iteration. Next, if line is equal to this, something like this, done. Okay, so I have typed something done. So here I'm doing the complete comparison. Okay, so entire line, whatever I type from the keyboard is being compared with done. So if this matches or true, so it breaks the statement. Otherwise, whatever I type, it gets printed. And finally, break matches, it says done and the program is terminated. So I have the sample run of the same here, yellow there. Okay, so I am reading yellow there. So line of 0, what character it is? H, the first character. Is it equal to the symbol? No, not equal. No, you don't have the continue executed. It comes here. And then I am checking whether line yellow there is equal to done. Again, not true. Now we don't have the break also called. So next, where it comes, it makes a call to the line, print line. Now you have yellow there printed. Okay. Next, in the second iteration, what I am doing, second iteration of the while loop, I am just doing this. Ash, don't print this. Okay. So I have the symbol given, the comment symbol of the Python programming language, and don't print this. Now it comes here. I am just checking line of 0. Yeah, what is the first character? The symbol matching, and it says continue. What will happen? So this current iteration is skipped, so it will not come here. You don't have the statement printed by print line. Okay, what will happen? It will go to the next iteration, and then again it will prompt you to enter something. Now I'm writing print this. Yeah, it got printed. In the fourth iteration, what I'm doing, so when it prompts me to enter something from the keyboard, I'm entering done. Okay, so it is done. Okay, so and it comes out of the while loop. Okay, let me show a few sample execution of these things. Yeah, let me copy this. I have the Python opened already, the Spider IDE. I'll paste it here. Okay, since I've already explained, I don't have to explain it again. Let me show you only the execution. Okay, minus also, I think when I'm copy pasting, it will not take in the ASCII format. Let me change it, delete and write minus again. Yeah, this is proper now. See, so now while loop printed 5 4 3 2 1 done and then 0. Okay, so I've shown you this execution. So you don't have to make it as a program. So you can, anything in the interactive Python console, you can put it and you can just run it. Now this is an infinite thing, the program which we wrote to show it runs into an infinite loop. Okay. Now this should run into an infinite loop if I run this. So invalid syntax, because I have given two opening parentheses here, sorry, closing parentheses. See, it's running into an infinite loop. Okay. Now how do I stop? Okay. Here. I have stopped it. Okay. Keyboard interrupt I have given and it has stopped. It was running into an infinite loop. Next. This is another loop. Yeah. Okay. This never gets printed, so it will not go into the while itself. It just says dry. So never went here, and then this one, it's a break. Are you seeing my screen movement and my voice, Karana, are they syncing? Or are you experiencing any delay?
It's perfect.
Proper, huh? Okay, thank you. So now, so it has prompted me this symbol. Now I want to input something. Let me input my name. It says you have typed this. Now again something 1 2 3 4. So prints that. Now let me say done. So that it has come out. Okay. Next. Okay, this is fine. This is fine. Now this one. So the program. Okay. Now it is prompting me to enter. So I'll input something, my name. So print it. And now I'll just say I'll write something starting with the symbol. So 1 2 3 4 5. Now what it will do? It will not this will not get printed. It continues because this is true and it continues back to the next iteration. See, nothing printed and just continued back to the next iteration. And next I'll say done. So the program is terminated. Okay. So continue. What it will do? It will skip the current iteration. So it was doing something in the current iteration. When the continuous statement is called, it will skip that. This statement, the following statements, the statements which are following the continuous statement will not be processed for that particular current iteration, and it goes back to the next iteration, jumps to the next iteration. So that is what with the flow chart. Okay. Now indefinite loops. So while loops are called indefinite loops generally because they keep repeating until a logical condition becomes false, and you don't know when that logical condition is going to become false. That is the reason we call the while loops are the indefinite loops, because they repeat as long as the condition is true, and the moment the false condition is false, so they stop. Okay, but you'll not be knowing when the condition will become false. Since you don't know exactly when the condition will become false, so the while loops here or any other programming language, they're called as indefinite loops. Okay, and it's pretty simple to write the looping constructs using while here in Python programming language. And if the program, the looping construct which you're writing is very small and the program is also very small, so then you can easily determine when the loop is going to terminate. But if the program is very large and the looping constructs are also very large, it is little harder to determine when the loop is going to terminate. So now definite loops. So till now we understood the indefinite loop, that is the while loop. Next is the definite loops. Now are there loops which repeats for the definite number of times? So the number of times which is known in advance. Yes. So iterating over a set of items. Say I want to repeat something for a set of items. When I say a set, it's a finite set. I want to repeat the execution of the statements for every element in the set. So then it becomes a definite loops, because if the set contains 10 elements, how many times this is going to repeat? For 10 times. Okay, the statement will be repeated. How many times are executed? 10 times. Hence we say the definite loops. So quite often, majority of the times on the array list or the dictionaries, we will be doing applying the definite loops instead of the indefinite loops. Yeah, and how do we write the definite loops in Python? Okay. So we have the for loop. For loop is the definite loop here, a simple definite for loop. So if you just observe here, I have written for I is a looping variable. You can also call this as an iteration variable or the looping variable in. So what I have is a list. So this is called as a list in Python. Okay. So list of how many elements? 5 elements. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now print I. So this variable I in the first iteration will be assigned with the first item from the list. For I in this list, in the first iteration, I will be assigned with the first item from the list and print I. In the first iteration, it prints U5. Next, in the second iteration, I will be automatically assigned with the second item from the list, that is 4, and 4 gets printed. And the third iteration, so I gets assigned with 3. And in the fourth iteration, it gets assigned with 2, and in the fifth iteration, it gets assigned with 1. And finally, so since there are only 5 elements, and this loop will happen for 5 times. So you know for sure here how many times the loop is repeating. So hence it is called as a definite loop, and finally ends. Okay. Now let me quickly execute this and show you. Okay. I will press enter. Okay, this I have to change, and 2 closing parentheses are there. See, so repeat it for how many times? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and end it. Okay, next. So for loops are generally used for the definite when you know how many times the statement should repeat. Okay. And while loops are generally used for the indefinite loops. Next, now I showed the list with the list of integers here. Does the for loop work with the list of strings also? Yes. The next example is on that. A definite loop with strings. See, friends is equal to, I have the list of friends. Okay, this is strings. List of strings, or in general I can call it as list of friends. Joseph, Gillen, Sally. So now I am writing a for loop for friend in friends. Now what is this friends? Friends is a list of strings. This is a list. Friends is a list. Okay, I am given. And for friend, this can be any name. You can give any name. Now I have given it as friend. Now in the first iteration of this loop, so friend gets assigned with the first string from the string list. So friend is equal to Joseph in the first iteration. So friend is equal to Gillen in the second iteration, and friend is equal to Sally in the third iteration. Okay. And what I'm doing, I'm displaying a greeting message. Say I want to say greeting message to all my friends. Happy New Year. So print Happy New Year. This I just have to prepare a list of my friends and then run a simple for loop for friend and friends. So print Happy New Year, friend. Done. So this is how you get it. OP people are following. Okay, nothing difficult to understand in this. Everything is very much clear. Now quickly I'll run this also. Now it will start like this with the simple concepts, and as you proceed gradually, so the things will get a little harder or complicated. So for you to understand those complicated things, you should be clear about all these things. So these are the basics. What you're learning is the basics now. Once these basics are clear, slowly you'll start writing the complicated programs using the Python. Okay. So for you to understand those complicated programs, all these basics you should be thorough with. Now I think I've copied it. Yeah, this one. See, I have, this is a list now. Now if I ask you a question, what is friends? So you got to say it is a list of strings. Okay, list of strings, and then I'm running a for loop for friend and friends. Print this. Okay. Now this I'll change, and one more bracket I have to remove. I think there are a few places I put double brackets. Yeah, even here also there are 2 brackets. Now done. See, repeat it for all the strings which are there in the friends list. Happy New Year Joseph, Happy New Year Gillen, Happy New Year Sally, and then finally done. Okay. Now we'll go to the next one. Now this is again with a simple flowchart, the program which I already showed you. Okay. Now here in the for loop, itself I have given. So in the previous example it was a list name. So for friend and friends, now here if you want you can have a list of this. You can store this entire list by assigning a name, and then the name can also be passed here. Okay. Now how? I think I've already copied it. So let me take this. Yeah. Just copy this. Paste it here. No. I'll remove this list, the direct list which was given inside the for loop. So I'll just name it as items. Items. 1 second. Control C. Oh, okay. Here again, let's say items is equal to the list 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I made a list. Now I write this for loop. So 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. I think this items was earlier defined because I used to run many programs here. Even before starting the class, I was executing few programs. I had given a variable with the name items and initialized to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is taken directly from there. But now what I did, I replaced it. I hope you understood. Yes or no? So you should not get confused. Sir, you are not initialized, you are not defined the items list itself. Then how we got this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Because even before starting this class, I was executing few programs, and their list is equal to items is equal to some values 1, 2, 3, 4. I had done it. So from there it is pulling you. Now the entire items list is overwritten by giving the new values 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50, and then I'm printing it. Yeah. So next is this. Yeah, and this is clear. I think I can skip this slide because so I is called as an iteration variable, and this is the 5-element sequence list of integers, and then printing. Okay. On every iteration, this I gets an element assigned from the list. It is in that sequence, in the same sequence. So that is one disadvantage of this for loop also, this kind of for loops. Now what is the disadvantage is that, say I don't want to repeat executing this print statement for all the items in the list. So I want to do it for only these 2 items. So it is not possible. So this always starts from the beginning and goes till the end. Yeah, this is with another thing. I think I can skip this also. This is not necessary. And this is how it is happening. So in detail, I think that much detailing is not necessary. Okay. Okay. So loop, the loops what we understood till now are simple, but the patterns apply to all kinds of loops. So same pattern is applied. Okay. So this is the pattern. So anything you take, okay, whether it is an indefinite loop, the while which what we discussed now, or it may be a definite loop, the for loop what we understood. So it is something like this, making the smart loops. This is what you got to follow. So first you got to take some variable, initialize it to the initial value, and for thing in data, so process the data, and if required you should update a variable and look at the values of the variable finally. So now looping through a set, same. This is same as the example what we saw earlier, print before. So before this list gets printed before, and now I'm just printing this each element of this list by running a for thing in this. Now what is my thing? Each element of my integer list. So printed, and finally after. That's all. A simple thing. Now this is what. So now with the simple for loop, now we are making it little complicated. Okay. So finding the largest value. Okay. I have a list. Now I want to find what is the largest value in that. Okay. What I'm doing, So I've taken a variable largest so far is equal to -1. Okay, I've initialized it to -1, and then printing before doing these statements, the largest so far is -1. Before largest so far is -1, and next running the for loop for the num in this list if the num is greater than largest so far. So in the first iteration, what is the number that is assigned to the num? 9. 9 greater than -1. True. Then you make 9 as the largest so far. Okay. And then print it. So since this print is under this for loop, even this statement gets executed on every iteration. Now what I'm doing, so in the first iteration, largest so far is 9. And what was the element that was taken to compare? 9. Okay, 9. And next, this statement will be executed only after the control comes out of the for loop. Right now, these statements are placed under this for loop. In the next iteration, what happens? So the num is assigned with 41. Now 41 greater than largest so far is what now? 9. 41 is greater than 9. Okay, true. Now largest so far will be made as 41. And what is the current element in the looping statement? 41. Okay, so repeat it. And finally, you have the largest element printed. So after all the statements are performed, the largest so far is 74. Okay. It's just a simple program for finding the largest value. You can just start comparing this with the any other programs. The programs what you write using the other programming language. Okay. So even this can be made little shorter, still shorter. How? Later you'll understand how to do all those things. So whatever I've written here can be written in one single line. So that is the beauty of Python programming language. Now I have copied the same program here into the interactive IPython cell. I'll just check for if there are any errors. So no errors, I think. Yeah, this double bracket, one bracket I have to remove, and this again double brackets here, one I have to remove, and one more here. Okay, and it is telling me print is not defined, so it is in uppercase. P is in uppercase. So I got to make it as lowercase. So this is upper, make it as lower. Now everything should be fine, I think. So I got it. So largest before processing all the statements is -1, and once the loop iteration started, so it is saying initially in the first iteration the largest is 9 and the current loop element was 9, and in the second iteration it is saying the largest element is 41 and the current loop iteration current value in that iteration is 41. In the third iteration also 41, so took over the biggest number, and 12, so like this, and finally so the biggest number is 74. Okay. Next, counting in a loop. So in the previous example we did finding the largest value using the for loop, the definite loop. So now how do we count in a loop? See, I have taken a variable count initialized to 0, and you can tell what is the type of this count variable. What is the type of this count variable? Integer, because based on the assignment, so Python implicitly understand what is the type of the variable. And then before starting processing these statements, I'm just saying print before and count. So before, the current value of the count is 0. You can just observe my mouse movement. Okay, before 0, and then for thing in my array list of integers, I'm just doing this. Count is equal to count plus 1. So you can see here 1, 9, and I'm also printing both. So why 1, 9 both are getting printed? Because in the print statement I'm passing two things in the print list. One is the count, another one is the current value of the for loop iteration. Okay, count and then think 1 and 9, 2 and 41. So and finally when all the iterations are done, so I just say after. After is not a variable here, it is just a prompting message after and the count value 6, the final count value. Now summing in the loop. Okay, let me execute this also. Everything is fine now. Okay, one error it is saying. Again the print problem. Print is in uppercase. I have to make it as lowercase. You got it. Okay, that's the result. Next. Summing in a loop. Okay. Earlier in the previous example, what we were doing, we were counting on every iteration. Now here we are summing all the elements of what the array list, integer array list. Okay. Count 0, print before and count for thing in this array list. Count is equal to count plus thing. So initial value of the count is 0. Or instead of count, you can also take it as sum. Okay. Since I copy pasted it from the previous program, I have retained the same name as count. Count is equal to count plus thing, and finally I am just displaying the count and thing. Okay. So this is 154 is the total count. 154 is the total count, and 15 is the current looping value. Okay. And after all the looping iterations ends, so we have the final value as 154. So see, so we will execute this also. Yeah, print, let me check P whether it is in uppercase. No, it is in small lowercase. Excuse me for a while. Yeah. So P is already in the lowercase. Oh no. Yeah, 2 brackets somewhere in the count. First printf. So this one I have to remove. Again one more unexpected indentation. See, indentation problem is coming now. What is that indentation problem? I'll show you. So print count thing. See, if you just observe here, so focus here please all of you. Say I'm getting indentation, unexpected indent error. So this P print, see, it's giving you error. So it's one space to the right compared to this count. Count is equal to count plus thing. So this small things will also give the error. So that is what I felt the biggest disadvantage of Python. Otherwise everything is advantage only. This is the disadvantage. So because we cannot make out majority of the times we cannot make out so whether there is a space or not a space. This is the difficult. Now I'll just copy this, paste it here, and I'll just bring this one space back, or let me push this one step. Yeah, now this is fine, I think. Now again execute it. Okay. So this is what indentation problems you got to check very carefully. Okay. Even this is a small program, okay, but especially when the program is very big, so this is a big difficulty. So checking the indentation is a very big difficulty. Okay, this we execute it. Now finding the average in a loop. Okay. Yeah, just let me go back to the previous slide. I want you people to do this. So write a Python program and just display the average of all the integer elements in the array. Do it, start doing it. So you can post the answers in two ways. One in the chat box. So even you can use the paper also, pen and paper. Write using the pen and paper, and the same photo you take and put it in the chat box. So let me see how many of you will respond. Got the point?
Sir,
Yes?
sir, in a do while loop,
Yeah.
we apply the colon after do or after while.
I didn't get you. Please repeat again.
Sir, in a do while loop, do we apply the colon after do or after while?
No, I have not shown you yet. Don't worry. When it comes there, you'll understand.
Okay, sir.
Just focus on only the while and for now. Now write the program for finding the average of the array list, integer array list. ಚಾಟ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಓಪನೇ ಆಗಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ನಂದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಫಾಸ್ಟಾಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. Yeah, do it. Yeah, keep doing. I need at least few responses.